Hello viewers, peace be upon you. In today's video, we're going to tell you about a woman who became an inspiration for women around the world. She was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and as she continued to take on even greater challenges, something unexpected happened. She got stuck somewhere, and all radio contact with her was lost. Today, we'll uncover the full story behind this mysterious event. If you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more amazing stories. Now, let's begin the video. In the early 20th century, when aviation was still in its daring infancy, one woman's name soared higher than the rest: Amelia Earhart. She wasn't just a pilot. She was a pioneer, a symbol of courage, independence, and the limitless human spirit. From the moment she first took flight, Amelia became a legend. But her story isn't just one of triumph, it's also one of mystery, because on July 2, 1937, she vanished from the sky, leaving behind one of the greatest unsolved disappearances in history. To this day, no one knows for sure what happened to Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan. Born in 1897 in Atchison, Kansas, Amelia Mary Earhart grew up fascinated by adventure and the unknown. She was never one to accept the limits society placed on women of her time. She climbed trees, shot rats with her rifle, and dreamed of flying long before most women even thought of driving. After seeing her first airplane at a state fair, she wasn't impressed, but a few years later, when she took her first flight as a passenger, everything changed. The moment the plane lifted off, she felt an almost spiritual connection to the sky. In her own words, she said, "As soon as I left the ground, I knew I had to fly." That passion drove her into aviation at a time when female pilots were rare and hardly respected. But Amelia was unstoppable. She trained relentlessly, bought her first airplane, a yellow Canary Airster she lovingly called the Canary, and soon began breaking records. In 1928, she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic. Though she did so as a passenger, still, it made her an overnight sensation. Newspapers called her Lady Lindy, comparing her to Charles Lindbergh, who had made his solo Atlantic crossing the year before. But Amelia wasn't satisfied with being a passenger. She wanted to fly solo. In 1932, she did exactly that. Amelia Earhart became the first woman to fly solo nonstop across the Atlantic Ocean, from Newfoundland to Ireland, braving icy winds, engine trouble, and near exhaustion. The world was stunned. She became an international hero, earning the Distinguished Flying Cross from Congress and the admiration of millions. But fame didn't change her mission. Amelia used her platform to promote women's rights and inspire others to chase their dreams. She famously said, "The most effective way to do it is to do it." By the mid-1930s, Amelia wanted to attempt something no one had ever done before: to fly around the world. The idea was bold, dangerous, and breathtakingly ambitious. Her goal was to become the first woman to circumnavigate the globe, following an equatorial route that would cover roughly 29,000 miles, the longest possible route around the planet. She would use a twin-engine Lockheed Electra 10E, a sleek and powerful aircraft specially modified for the journey. With her was Fred Noonan, an expert navigator who had years of experience charting routes across the Pacific for Pan American Airways. The world followed her journey with fascination. The flight began in May 1937 from Oakland, California. After a brief setback, a crash during an early attempt, Amelia restarted the journey in June. This time heading eastward. The pair crossed South America, Africa, and the Indian subcontinent, making stops along the way for rest, refueling, and maintenance. By late June, they had reached Lae, New Guinea, with just 7,000 miles left. The final, most dangerous leg of their journey, the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Their next destination was a small island called Howland Island, a tiny speck of land barely 2 miles long, located in the middle of nowhere. It was to serve as a refueling stop before the long flight back to the United States. But the stretch from New Guinea to Howland was treacherous. Over 2,500 miles of open ocean, with no room for error. On the morning of July 2, 1937, Amelia and Noonan took off from Lae at 10 a.m. local time. The weather was good but unpredictable. The U.S. Coast Guard ship Pataska was stationed near Howland to guide them with radio signals. Everything was set. As the flight progressed, things began to go wrong. Communication between Amelia's plane and the Itasca was poor. Their radios were not properly tuned to the same frequencies. The plane's antenna setup was faulty, and they could barely hear each other. Over the next several hours, Itasca tried repeatedly to contact her, but most of the time, they received nothing but static. Occasionally, Amelia's voice broke through the nose. "We must be on you, but cannot see you. Gas is running low." Those were among the last words anyone ever heard from her. At 8:43 a.m., Amelia made her final transmission. "We are on the line 157 to 337. We will repeat this message. We are running north and south." After that, there was only silence. The plane vanished from radio contact. No one saw or heard from her again. When news broke that Amelia Earhart was missing, the world was stunned. The U.S. government launched one of the largest search efforts in history. President Franklin D. Roosevelt authorized a massive operation involving 66 aircraft and 9 naval ships, covering over 250,000 square miles of ocean. But despite weeks of searching, no trace of the Lockheed Electra, Amelia, or Fred Noonan was ever found. So what really happened? Over the years, countless theories have tried to answer that question. The official explanation is that Amelia Earhart's plane ran out of fuel somewhere near Howland Island and crashed into the Pacific Ocean. This is supported by her last transmission, mentioning low fuel and her search pattern. The idea is that they missed Howland by a few miles, couldn't find it, and eventually ditched into the sea, sinking instantly in one of the deepest parts of the Pacific. It's a simple, logical explanation, but for many, it's not satisfying. One of the most popular alternative theories suggests that Amelia and Noonan may have landed on another island nearby, possibly Gardner Island, now called Nikumaroro, part of modern-day Kiribati. In 1940, British colonial officers on Nikumaroro discovered human bones, a woman's shoe, and remnants of a navigational device. Some researchers believe these could have belonged to Earhart. Later DNA testing on the bones was inconclusive, but a 2018 forensic analysis claimed the remains were consistent with Amelia's body type. Another theory, more controversial, claims that Amelia Earhart was captured by the Japanese military after accidentally landing on one of their occupied islands in the Pacific. According to this story, she and Noonan were taken prisoner, interrogated as spies, and possibly executed. Supporters point to alleged witness testimonies and old photographs showing a woman resembling Earhart on the Marshall Islands. However, these claims have never been definitively proven, and most historians consider them speculation. Then there's the spy theory. The idea that Amelia Earhart's final flight was actually a secret mission for the U.S. government to gather intelligence on Japanese military operations before World War II. In this version, she supposedly ditched her plane deliberately or was relocated under a new identity to protect the secret. But again, there's no concrete evidence. Despite the lack of answers, interest in Amelia Earhart's disappearance has never faded. Over the decades, Dozens of expeditions have tried to locate the wreckage of her plane. Organizations like the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery (TIAR) have conducted multiple searches on Nikomorora, finding artifacts such as fragments of aluminum and old bottles, though none definitively linked to Earhart. In 2019, deep-sea explorers even used advanced sonar and underwater drones to scan the ocean floor near Howland Island, but found nothing conclusive. What keeps this mystery alive isn't just the lack of evidence, it's who Amelia was. She wasn't just another pilot lost to history. She was a symbol of human possibility. She broke barriers in a world that pulled women to stay grounded. Her disappearance feels like a story that the universe itself has hidden, a secret buried deep in the endless Pacific. In her last letter to her husband, George Putnam, before taking off on that fateful flight, Amelia wrote, "Please know I am quite aware of the hazards. I want to do it because I want to do it. Women must try to do things as men have tried. When they fail, their failure must be a challenge to others." Those words still resonate. Whether her plane lies on the ocean floor, on a forgotten island, or somewhere yet undiscovered, Amelia Earhart's legacy continues to inspire. She taught the world that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the will to fly despite it. Even now, more than 80 years later, explorers, scientists, and dreamers still chase her shadow across the waves, hoping to find the missing piece of her story. Maybe one day, the Pacific will finally give up its secret. Until then, Amelia Earhart remains both a legend and a mystery, a woman who reached for the sky and became one with it.